Hello, everyone. I'm Seth Bannon,
And I'm Madej.
and we're both impact entrepreneurs and investors. And today we're going to be talking about the fine art of eating glass.
Well, so clearly entrepreneurship is very glamorous. You get to talk on events such as Slush, on stages that are on water, while your makeup is done backstage. Sometimes, when you still have your original hair color, they put your picture in Times Square, NASDAQ screen.
Or on a full-page spread on Inc. magazine. And so how did we come to live such seemingly glamorous lives? Well, this is me. I'm Seth. I'm the co-founder with Ella of Impact.tech. It's a community of people who are excited about solving some of the world's biggest challenges through business. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Amicus, which is a social good startup that builds tools for nonprofits and political campaigns. Through Amicus, I went through the accelerator in Silicon Valley called Y Combinator, which is an incredible experience. We've been covered in CNN, The Economist, and due to our work, Forbes put me on their 30 under 30 list for social entrepreneurship twice.
And I started my first company 9 years ago. I was the CEO of a software development company that did pretty well and enabled me to do quite a few more things in life, including also going through Y Combinator with another company, co-founding a CRM company called Base, which is right now has raised $53 million and is on a great trajectory. I was a partner at an investment fund, a great European investment fund, Innovation Nest. And after that, I decided to focus only on social impact investment in companies and started Impact.tech with Seth.
So that all sounds great and fun. But if you remember the slide in the magazine cover, what you don't see is the story behind the scenes. So about a year and a half ago, I was walking to a meeting where I was going to announce that I was going to have to fire almost the entire team because we were unexpectedly running out of money. On the way to the meeting, our CTO told me he was going to resign. And just after that, my co-founder, a friend of mine for 11 years, told me he was resigning too. I hadn't slept much the night before, and I could barely process the news. This was rock bottom.
I had quite a few difficult moments in my career too. One of the highlights for me was being in Y Combinator, which is this startup accelerator that everybody knows about and is the best one in the world. And actually, we were working on something very exciting with an amazing team. We're sprinting for 6 months, and I was the CEO of the company. And at some point, I just realized it's not as much fun as it used to be, and that I'm not being as nice to my team, that I'm being less empathetic than I normally am. We still had money in the bank, and we had investors such as Andreessen Horowitz committed to what we were doing and waiting for the round. But I wasn't feeling it. And after a literally sleepless night, one day I gathered my team and I said, I'm sorry, but I cannot do it anymore. We'll have to stop and rethink. And I totally failed them as a leader after all the hard work they have put in.
Elon Musk said that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. And for those of you who might not know, an abyss is essentially a giant, dark, seemingly endless hole in the ground. So not a very cheery expression. And this is something that Ella and I can certainly sympathize with from our own personal experience. And it's actually something that's not that unique. These sort of dreadful, life-ending experiences are so common that there is an acronym for it. It's WIFIO, stands for We're Fucked, It's Over. The former entrepreneur and founder of Andreessen Horowitz, Ben Horowitz, estimated that successful companies go from anywhere between 2 and 14 WIFIOs in their lifetimes. This means that successful companies have up to 14 times where they think, we're done, it's over, we're through. These are incredibly stressful times. And the amazing thing is that everyone experiences it. Even organizations that seem like rocket ships are behind-the-scenes roller coasters. We were fortunate enough in going through Y Combinator to be a part of this series called Tuesday Dinners, where they bring in entrepreneurs for strictly off-the-record conversations, the founders of Dropbox and Pinterest and Facebook. And so you hear behind-the-scenes stories, and you hear that everyone went through this, these incredibly stressful times.
So speaking about impact and having real impact on the world, it only makes sense that it's hard. But we mostly, when we think it's hard, we're thinking it's technically hard, technologically hard. It's hard in all those other ways. But it's, I think, one of the most important thing that's underappreciated is how big of an emotional toll it has on the leaders and on people trying to change something. So first of all, leading people is fun, but it's extremely stressful. So you're trying to do something with your team, with your organization, with your company, and you need to convince the best people you know to drop their careers, drop the trajectory they were on, and convince you that you are worth their time, and you're going to get them where they, to the holy grail of success. And, turns out that it's not that easy. So sometimes you stumble and you have to fire most of your team. There are going to be many small wins, but they're mostly going to be problems. There's going to be communication problems, there's going to be financial problems, there's going to be competitors showing up, there's going to be deadlines that are missed, there's going to be customers not paying on time. There's always this sense of a threat. So as there's going to be way many things that you didn't think of, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of your personal time. And you're going to be very committed to what you're doing in a way that will maybe cost you some of your relationship. Even when you have a very supporting family and very supporting friends, you will start missing some occasions, some birthdays, some spontaneous picnics because the sun is out and it's a beautiful day. And guess what? I mean, at some point, your friends who still love you dearly, but they will not invite you to things anymore because you're never there. So it will feel very lonely, and you will ask yourself a question, well, whether it's worth it, whether it's worth my time, whether it's worth my team's time, am I even the right person to do it? If it's even possible, there's going to be many times when you will want to give up. So that can cause a huge amount of frustration because you will be going through days feeling misunderstood and feeling very much in your head that nobody really understands the burden that's on your shoulders, because it's impossible to understand it, to be fair, when you're a leader. And maybe your family doesn't understand how important that is. And over time, that frustration over all those things that are not going right can lead up to anxiety, so a constant state of restlessness. Maybe you'll have troubles falling asleep. Maybe when you do fall asleep, you wake up exhausted. Maybe you will feel heavy. Maybe you will not be excited about the thing you set yourself up to do, and maybe at some point you will think you're in somebody else's life, and it's some sort of movie that you never wanted to act in.
And this anxiety left unchecked can lead to more serious things like depression. And I just want to start by saying that depression is a real thing. It's an actual neurochemical state in the brain. So here on the left, we have a PET scan of a normal brain. On the right, we have a PET scan of a depressed brain, and they all look like this. This is a real phenomenon. And the reason we're talking about it is because, unfortunately, this crowd, the sort of A players, the people who are out to change the world, the social entrepreneurs, is a crowd that depression affects disproportionately high. And so this is the most number of words I've ever put on a slide, but these are some symptoms of depression, and it's important that everyone here know them, if not to see it in yourself, to see it in your coworkers and your colleagues and your friends, because if detected early, depression is completely treatable. And if it's not, it can lead to much more serious things. And unfortunately, our community recently has been struggling a lot with this. There have been a number of founders who have taken their lives, including someone I was quite friendly with, and it's tragic because it's totally avoidable. So I know this has gotten really dark, but I promise we're about to turn things around and talk about how we can excel through the stress. So now we're going to talk about how we can eat glass. So the first step is to understand the enemy. So this bastard is the enemy. This is cortisol. It's a hormone that's released by the adrenal cortex when we're stressed. And it has a number of effects on the body. It boosts blood sugar levels, it increases blood pressure. It basically does a lot of things that would be really great if you were trying to escape from a charging bear, but aren't very useful for modern life. And if left unchecked, it can cause a plaque to build up in the brain that reduces creativity, increases anxiety, and increases the chance of depression. So now we're going to talk about how we can take control. So it's been really dark, and one of the sort of basics of public speaking is you're supposed to try and please your audience. And I'm worried we're not doing that. So here goes my attempt at being a good public speaker. So if you guys want to succeed in life, you should sleep more, go on vacation, dance till you drop, and get a lot of massages. So how'd I do? Good? Great. Woo! Excellent. So this isn't just me trying to be a good public speaker. This is science. Science actually says that all of these things will reduce your stress, lower cortisol levels in your blood, and make you more likely to succeed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run through some actual scientific studies that show that these things are likely to make you more successful. So there are a number of studies on sleep that shows that it makes you smarter. It literally makes you smarter. It's that simple. So they've done studies where they bring people into a lab, they have them do some task, maybe learning a combination of keys, then they have them go home and sleep, then they bring them back, and they see how they did. And surprise, surprise, the people who sleep more do better. This is because during the day, during sleep, your brain is going over the events of the day and figuring things out. Have you guys ever heard of the genius mathematician who wakes up from a nap and says, "Eureka, I've got it"? This is not a myth. This actually happens. It doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you more creative. There's a different type of task called divergent thinking. And the way they study this is they bring you into a lab, they give you something like a paperclip, and they say, write down all the ways you could use this paperclip. And you say, well, I guess I could use it to hold papers together. I guess I could use it to get the SIM card out of my phone. I could make a nose ring out of it. Maybe I could melt it down and make counterfeit currency. And the more ways you come up with, the more creative your brain is performing. And the more you sleep, the more ways you come up with. This is an interesting one. Vacations make you more productive. And people never believe this. They say, I've got too much work. I can't go on vacation. I couldn't possibly do that. But this is really similar to saying that you've got too much to do and you can't make time to eat. Like, sure, you might be more productive over the short term, but it doesn't last. And so the studies actually show that you're so much more productive when you're not on vacation that overall, it's a boost in productivity. This is a really cool one. This is from the psychology department of the University of Frankfurt. It shows that dancing significantly reduces cortisol levels. And so if you're having a stressful week, you want to bring down your stress, prepare for the next week, go out to the most popular club, dance to whatever cool is cool these days. I think it's the Macarena, if I'm not confused, in Helsinki. And it will lower your cortisol levels. This is the best one. No one will give you easier advice for making yourself more successful in life. Frequent massages reduce cortisol levels and keep them down. So if you want to do nothing else, schedule a bi-weekly massage for yourself, and you will make yourself more creative, more intelligent, more successful.
Two things were not yet mentioned, which are kind of obvious, and there's a whole body of evidence showing how physical activity is great for your brain, and specifically for cortisol levels, so 4 or 5 times a week. We're talking 20 minutes of lowering your cortisol. Like, you don't have to hook up any other goals there. Just knowing that cardio exercises have good effect on your brain, and you should do them. Finally, this is something that's been well known to people in the Eastern cultures. We right now, the nerds need the science, so there's actually a lot of scientific papers on the benefits of meditation, and specifically this type of meditation called mindfulness meditation, which to anyone unfamiliar with it, it's essentially sitting down and breathing and focusing on your breath. There's nothing more to it. And only doing that a few minutes a day for a week lowers your cortisol level. It has all sorts of other benefits, such as boosting your creativity, making you more empathetic, and just a happier human being overall. But if there's one tip, apart from getting massages are not always accessible, you just should go to the headspace.com, I think, and download an app that has guided meditation. It helps you breathe for 5 minutes a day. And it's just amazing. It's one of the most important life tools that you can acquire, whether you believe it in this moment or not.
And this science is really cool on this. It shows that the gray density in the brain, the gray matter in the brain, which is where the neuronal cell bodies live, actually increases. And you can see this in a scan of the brain. So this is like real science supported. So
So doing great things. I guess it all seems easy. DC are fun. You get to dance. You get to do that. And of course, we have really busy schedules. So what it does require is discipline. So I'm not sure what works for you. You can put it in your calendar. You can decide what's the combination that you want to apply to yourself if your long-term well-being and productivity is important to you. But for example, for me, when I literally had a piece of paper on my fridge with like meditation X, exercise X, and I would count how many of those things I did a week to really quantify if I'm being a joker with myself or if I'm actually taking good care of myself, because I want to be in a good mental condition to achieve the goals that I'm setting myself up to be. So managing your own mind does take discipline. You might want to have a dedicated Trello board or whatever project management tool you use to just reminding yourself of that, because you're not going to be a good leader, and it's going to be very hard for you to achieve your long-term, very important life goals if you're not able to get there in one piece.
So we've given you some tasks and routines that you can use to reduce stress. Now we're going to give you three, philosophies. And so we call them the 3 Ps: purpose, passion, and perspective. So this one is probably something everyone on this track can really empathize with. So Elon Musk, again, says when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. And all this is saying is that if you think something is truly important, if something has to happen in the world, if it matters, you're going to be able to push through stress more easily and less stress comes to you. And so I can't stress how important this is. If someone asks you, why is what you're doing important, and you don't immediately have an answer, you might want to consider what else you could be doing.
This is actually one of the reasons we started Impact.tech. It's a bit of a plug here. We both work, especially as an investor, I work with a portfolio of companies, and it's really great to be able to see entrepreneurs who actually are in it for the right reasons. And we're trying to promote that idea that you should only do things that you really believe have true meaning in life, not just for the business sake. Even if you want to run them as a for-profit business with potentially $1 billion in revenue.
Second is passion. So this is from Steve Jobs. If you're not passionate enough from the start, you'll never stick it out. And this is a very simple concept. Basically, it's choose something to work on in your life that really excites you. Either a problem that's annoyed you for a long time, or go into a domain that you're super excited to learn about. Because if you are not personally vested in what you're doing, the stress will be even greater, and it will be harder to push through it.
Most of all, I think I said it before, but it was one of the most important pieces of advice that I got. Whatever you're doing in life, and hopefully your life story, you have some idea for what you want to achieve, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So do approach it as if it was a marathon, and don't try to sprint it. So we usually have a bit more time for that talk, and it's important to mention all other people who are doing important work in the field. But if you can, take a picture of that slide and check out those resources. There are some people thinking about it, and there are some resources available. And we hope they help you achieve really great things.
And thank you. Just please, take care of yourself, not only for yourself, but for your companies, for your organizations, and for the impact that you're having in the world. So in a nutshell, that's how you eat glass. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.